Good morning, hello and welcome here to Terex Washing Systems Open Day here in the county of Cork. Thanks for joining us. Cork, where we're based here today, is the largest county in Ireland, the southernmost county in Ireland. A number of notable things, I guess, about Cork. It's the place where Sir Walter Raleigh planted the first potato that appeared in Ireland many years ago in 1547. Notably, also a place from where many immigrants many years ago would have left these shores to seek out their fortune in the land of great opportunity, and leaving these shores at that time, many thousands of people, among them notably a young William Ford, who left here at the age of 21, born in Cork, and somewhat fitting that his son and serial entrepreneur Henry Ford would return here in 1917 to set up the first Ford factory outside of the United States. So from one entrepreneur to another, we're here in the parish of Brinny, 30 miles outside of Cork City, and we're with Cohan Ready Mix, a local ready mix company, very entrepreneurial, have invested significantly in the past number of years in their business. Cohan serve concrete and ready mix, sand and gravel, block products to Cork County and beyond. From this site in Brinny, as you can see behind me, they're extracting and producing sand and gravel product. Most of the product that goes from here goes to their own concrete operations in Inishannon and beyond. The plant that's operating here on this site today replaces an older installation that was here for many years, and the Terex Washing Systems team installed this plant in Q2 of 2020, initially working with the Cohan business in order to specify the correct machine for the application, tailor heavily this machine for the application and also for the site. Some unique features that we'll walk you through today here are the high-angle H30 feed hopper, designed to take a direct truck dump feed, and uniquely as well, there's a subterranean water tank system beneath the plinth of the machine, which holds all of the fresh water tank and dirty water tank sump, and is designed to reduce the footprint of the machine on this particular site. The team then commissioned and handed over this plant to the Cohan operations team, and they've been operating successfully ever since. My name is Barry McMenamin. I'm the Business Line Director for Terex Washing Systems. I'm joined here, as you will hear from on site today, many of my TWS colleagues. We have a lot of experience within the team, and you'll hear from a lot of our process experts. And amongst us here, obviously, we have a significant amount of expertise in the wet processing sector. So, as part of the webinar today, you can ask us questions. Feel free to use the functionality on your browser to ask those questions, and at the end of the webinar we will address any questions you may have around the plant, the installation, or specific questions you may have for your own business to that team of experts right at the end. Uniquely, as you can't physically be with us today, we want to walk you around this plant in real time, look at all of the individual products that make up the entire solution, talk you through the features and benefits of those individual pieces of equipment, and how they come together to process the material that you see here, create specification sand and gravel products. Hopefully from that walkthrough you'll come away with a complete understanding of the capability of the Terex Washing Systems business to provide you with a complete end-to-end solution to meet your wet processing needs. Something we're very proud of in TWS is the fact that all of the product that you see here today and behind me is designed by our team, and therefore we have a very deep, in-depth understanding of that equipment and how we apply it to any particular applications environment. Any individual business can sell you a collection of equipment, but our ability to understand the core nature and design of the product that we put together in any application gives us a pretty unique ability to design and configure a plant specifically for your needs and make the plant very efficient in its operation. So hopefully you'll come away understanding that our ability to configure our equipment to the application and make it run efficiently in operation is at the core of our business and everything that we do, obviously backed by our decades of internal product experience. Once again, you're very welcome. Thanks for joining us here today. We're going to now move over to the beginning of the process, and it's the first question and the start of any customer conversation for us, which is around what material that you would want to process in your application. So we'll move from here over to the material extraction point to look in detail at the material that we're processing and the outputted products.
I'm Johnson Patterson and I'm Applications Manager for Terex Washing Systems. I manage a team of highly skilled technical engineers. Today I'm in Cork, Ireland to share with you one of our latest direct sale installations. Cohan's are a ready-mix operation, and this plant here in Brinny supplies all the sand and gravel to the ready-mix operation. There has always been a wash plant here on this site. Cohan's felt it was time for an upgrade. This plant here is able to produce up to 250 tonnes per hour. The material is a natural sand and gravel deposit which can get sticky and has some clay through it. There is also, in certain parts of the quarry, the presence of organic material like sticks and roots. The feed material is 60-40 split sand and gravel and is predominantly minus 150 millimetres, but there can be some pieces up to 300 to 400 millimetres in size. Percent passing 63 microns is typically 10%. To get started with the process of designing a new wash plant, the customer provided us with a sample of their as-dug material. They also instructed us on what products they would like to make. We took that sample to our lab, analysed it, and from the analysis we're able to design the wash plant that you see here today. So the plant contains the following equipment: the H30 feeder, the AggreScrub 206 3-deck 2 sand, the DCT 220 deep cone thickener, the AggreScrub 150, and in the background there, the central control unit. All this equipment here is designed and manufactured by Terex Washing Systems, and indeed installed and commissioned by our in-house team. So now we'll take a look at the feeder. Terex Washing Systems offer a range of feeders from the H9, H12, H20, and this machine here you see behind me, the H30. The H9 and H12 come with a double-deck vibrating grid, while the H20 and H30 come with a hydraulic tipping grid. The spacings on the grid on this particular machine are 125 millimetres, but you can get it in 100 millimetres and 150 millimetres. The working angle of the grid is 35 degrees, and as you can see here, it's very efficient at removing the oversize with very little overrun of fines. The grid is hydraulically operated and controlled by the loader driver from the cab of the shovel. The grid tips beyond 90 degrees, which allows the fingers to become loose and free any material stuck in the bars. The volume of the hopper is 30 metres cubed, giving us around 50-tonne capacity. The feeder is designed with an internal breaker bar, which is designed to relieve the load on the belt. The heavy-duty 1050mm wide belt, supported by the heavy-duty impact rollers, ensures a consistent feed to the wash plant. The belt is driven by a 4-kilowatt motor with a heavy-duty gearbox and is VSD controlled.
Okay, now that the machine has been shut down and isolated, we can take a closer look at the H30 feeder. This area here is normally fully guarded along with the tail drum to prevent access, but for the purposes of today, these have been removed just so you can get a closer look at the H30 feeder.
So now that the machine is shut down, we can take a closer look at some of the features of the H30 feeder. As you can see here, the H30 feeder is fitted with a tracking roller and guide rollers to ensure the belt stays aligned whilst feeding. We've got our heavy-duty impact rollers, and these uprights are bolt in and can be removed for maintenance purposes. Back here, we've got the 4-kilowatt hydraulic power pack, tucked away neatly in here out of harm's way from any falling material. And now that's everything for the H30 feeder. We'll take a look now at the AggreScrub 206 3-deck 2 sand.
Hi, my name is Paul McWilliams and I'm the Technical Innovation and Product Manager for Terex Washing Systems. From the H30, the material is transferred up to the main rinsing screen on the AggreScrub 206 via this main conveyor. The main conveyor is 1 metre wide with a heavy-duty belt, and it's powered by dual 11-kilowatt motors and gearboxes. This allows it to convey material up to a tonnage of well over 500 tonnes per hour without any issues. We deliberately run this conveyor at a low angle of 18 degrees and with a lower speed, and the reason for that is to avoid any potential rollback or material slippage when you're dealing with rounded material or even very wet material. An option that's available on this main conveyor is that you can get an overband magnet at this position.
Now, in natural applications like this, it's not really required, but in the recycling applications, that's very much required to remove any cramped metal or any rebar or material like that when they get into the feed material. When the material makes its way up to the top of the main conveyor, it hits the wash box where water is introduced for the first time. Now, in a few minutes, I'll take you up there and show you exactly what's going on, but first I'm going to discuss with you how the water is managed, delivered to the plant in the first place. With independent supplies required for the rinser screen, the wash box and the fresh water supply to the AggreScrub 150. This ring main has been designed to specifically manage the distribution of multiple water flows where pressure is needed in all situations. Computational fluid dynamics has been used to make sure that the pressure losses within this system is minimised, and each valve has individual flow controls to ensure the right balance of water in each part of the plant while not losing pressure. While it's important to manage the water during the operation of the machine, it's also vital to control your water during winter time, and what I mean by that is during very cold nights and frost, it's important to drain down this part of the machine to make sure that you don't get any damage through frost, through water buildup. Therefore, the AggreSand has been designed with multiple drain down points so that you can drain down each part of the manifold and each part of the sump tank, either at the end of a week or on each night, to make sure that water doesn't build up in those areas. Now let's go up and see the wash box part of the wash plant. The high capacity wash box momentarily holds the material back while we introduce a high volume of water, fluidise the material so that it can be uniformly presented onto the 20x6 screen. You will see that the water supply to this wash box is independently controlled, so you can manage the amount of water that's delivered at this point. Soaking the material effectively at this point is essential to achieve really effective screening across all three decks of the screen. Now, on the 20x6 screen box itself, each deck is fitted with 9 spray bars, and you can see here that each spray bar is controlled by an individual control valve. This allows you to manage the amount of water that you're using on the screen box, and what I mean by that is towards the discharge end, where the material is already clean, you can shut off a few valves and just let the material flow on down, getting as dry as possible before it's discharged into the stockpiles. Another feature of our spray bar system is that they're all statically mounted to the manifold, which is mounted to the subframe. And we refer to this as isolated spray bars. So that means that the spray bar itself is not moving with the screen. So that means that the lifespan of your spray bar is massively increased. There's no risk of it vibrating and cracking or shaking off. So this is a really good feature, and these gators help contain all the water that's inside the screen box. Now, as the material makes its way down the screen, it is separated into 3 sizes. You've got your oversized, your mid-grade overs, and your bottom deck overs, while all your sand and water is flushed down through the bottom deck into the collection sump underneath.
So we've just turned off the machine for a few moments so we can explain to you more about the 20x6 screen box on this AggreSand and also explain some of the features. So the 20x6 screen box is a proven and high performance screen box. We put polyurethane media on each deck, and as I explained earlier, your aggregates are split into those 3 sizes and they make their way down to this rolling chute, which is, for me, one of the best features on the machine. So in normal mode, the oversized material goes down over the top of this chute, the middle deck overs go over this part of the chute, and the bottom deck overs go down into the bottom chute, out to the 3 conveyors. But one of the great features is that you can actually blend the middle and bottom deck material by just simply adjusting this plate like this. And from this point, the middle deck overs deflect back down into the bottom chute, allowing your middle deck and your bottom deck overs all to go together. So it's very common in recycling and scrubbing applications where this material will all go to the scrub to get a proper cleaning. You can actually then, in the oversized chute, also change the position of the bolt-in plates. So they also can allow the top deck material, middle deck material, and the bottom deck material all to go to the one side conveyor. Another great benefit of this rolling chute is the fact that it rolls away, and you'll see at Terex we provide drop-in flooring like this, which makes it easy for the operator then to get in and do inspection of the chutes, but also then look at what's going on in the screen box. So you can see that once you're in this area, you have great access to the front of the screen box. So if you ever need to replace these line discharge lips, it's easy to get in here and operate. You're standing on a nice safe platform. And also if you need to get up and do any inspection on the spray bars, etc., there's plenty of space here for the guys to look in and also inspect the media. So now we're going to get the rowan chute closed up and get the machine back and running again.
Here the customer is running 55mm apertures on the top deck, 24mm apertures on the middle deck, and he has got the bottom deck split into two sands, 2mm in the first portion and 5mm in the second portion. The plus 55mm material goes out this conveyor, and as we can see today, there's not a lot of that material in this feed material. The 24 to 55 then goes out this side, where he's getting a good quality drainage stone, well rinsed, nice and clean. And then the 5 to 24 makes his way up the mid-overs belt towards the AggreScrub, where I'm going to hand over to my colleague who'll tell you what's going on over there.
Hello, I'm Neil Rooney, the Engineering Manager with TWS, and I'm going to talk you through our AggreScrub 150. We're now going to look at the scrubbing process. Heavy presence of silts and clays can lead to aggregates binding together, and washing alone may not be adequate to release the clay from the stone. Terex washing systems log washers range from 60 to 200 tonne per hour feed rate and are engineered to produce a clean, sellable aggregate. Packaged on a modular chassis that allows for easy transport and quick assembly, this AggreScrub 150 version is shown here, configured with a part rinsing sizing screen, a high volume trash screen and central collection sump. Pre-wired, pre-plumbed and offering unprecedented walkway access to all serviceable areas. In this application, we see the majority of conglomerates in the mid-fines portion. So we're diverting this stock to the AggreScrub 150 via our AggreSand extended conveyor. Modular and retrofittable to our AggreSand range, this process can be a painless addition to your AggreSand. The belt has a generous bed depth, delivering a feed of up to 150 tonne per hour to the log washer. The AggreScrub range can accept natural and C&D muck-away feeds, and the challenge is liberating the valuable aggregates and light material, organics or trash, from the difficult to break down fines and insoluble clay. Two rotating bladed shafts introduce energy to the feedstock, and this forces the particles to collide and scrape against each other. This stone-on-stone attrition liberates conglomerates, and these are transported across the water and expelled out the rear weirs and onto the trash screen where they are dewatered. This water will then travel to the integrated sump tank. Lower levels of water in the hull can help increase attrition. However, the water level can be incrementally increased from low level to medium level using simple drop-in weir plates, which allow for fine-tuning on performance to find that balance between attrition and flotation of silts, clays and lightweight contaminants. The AggreScrub 150 is a high-performance log washer with features that give dynamic adjustment and control, allowing you to optimize the performance in scrubbing, sizing and separation. During the commissioning phase, your AggreScrub will be fine-tuned to ensure you get the best possible result. Dual drives ensure you always have enough torque, and the Terex system utilises an interlocking gear system to guarantee the timing of the blades will never slip. Angle adjustment, variable water levels and optional variable speed drives means that the Terex washing system's AggreScrub range can cope with the widest feed range. As the aggregate exits the hull, it is given a final rinse to remove any 0 to 5 mil carryover, and this is sent to the integrated sump. All spray bars are independently controlled by isolated valves, again giving the operators an opportunity to fine-tune the process. With over 60 years of screening heritage, Terex screen boxes can deliver to the most exacting standards. This 12x5 part rinsing box comes with modular media and features our patented rolling chute technology for ease of access to the media. And our line chutes deliver the aggregate to the stockpile conveyors, to the segregated piles. All the water used in the scrubbing process is contained in a closed loop, and the dirty water is collected in the integral sump. From here, it is pumped back along the extended conveyor to the AggreSand sump, where it will enter the sand washing process. And what we are left with is clean, sellable aggregate in distinct sized stockpiles, with a neat pile of trash and organics. If we compare to the feedstock which Johnston showed us earlier, I think you will be impressed. The AggreScrub range is very versatile with many options, such as a pre-screen, an oversized conveyor for crusher recirc, 15mm, 30mm and manganese blade options, 6x2 or 8x4 trice screens with strategic positioning for direct feed into high-sided skips, 8x4, 12x5 or 16x5 sizing screens.
As I mentioned previously, all the sand is washed down through the bottom deck of the 20x6 screen. It's split into two sections at this point. The 0-2 sand in this first section and the 0-5 sand in the second section. The 0-5 sand is distributed into the far side of the tank and the 0-2 is distributed to the near side of the tank. At this point it's joined with the dirty water from the AggreScrub 150 which comes back in through the pipework and goes into the coarse side of the tank to make sure we're not contaminating the fine sand. At this point on the catch box you have the ability to blend the amount of 0-3mm material that is blended into your 0-5mm material, and there's the first of three places on this plant where you have the ability to control that. That not only allows you to control the spec of your 0-2 and 0-5 sand, but it also allows you to balance the loading on your cyclones. From this collection sump, or within this collection sump, there's protective mats to make sure that no oversized material can make its way through the pumps that might cause some damage. This is done by rubber mats that are down at the far side of the tank underneath the water. Also within the tank there's a float system that allows you to bring some of the cyclone overflow water back down into the tank, and the float acts like a ball cock to ensure the water level in the tank maintains the same, and it reduces the risk of the pumps running dry should there be a shortage in water. Now we're going to head down to the ground level to talk about the pumps.
The pumps used on the AggreSand and across the entire Terex washing system range are the Lynatex Lyna pump. These pumps are regarded as the best in the industry in terms of their wear resistance to pumping sand and water. The reason that is, they use a natural red rubber within the pump that lines the entire inside and the impeller, and both those parts are replaceable as well. Down here you'll see that we've got both sand pumps, the coarse sand pump and the fine sand pump, and both pump up to the cyclones, which we'll come to in a little minute. Now another feature on the AggreSand, which is quite unique, is that we've got this frame that allows you to get into maintenance the pump, and I'm just going to demonstrate how that's so easy to drop down. So by dropping out these retention pins on this side and this side, you can let this little spring release down, which allows you to safely drop the frame down to the ground. Then disconnect the suction hose. So this frame allows you then to roll this pump out into a safe location where you can work at it freely around it from all the different angles. That's if you ever need to open up the pump for inspection to check for any blockages, or if you need to replace any of the liners of the impeller, which is very rare as these pumps can last for years without needing any change to those components. Now I'm going to take you up to the upper part of the AggreSand to show you the cyclones and the features up there.
From the pump, the two fractions of sand are pumped up to these two large cyclones mounted above the dewatering screen. The higher volume coarse fraction is pumped to this 660 cyclone on the far side, and the smaller 0-2 fraction is pumped to the 500 cyclone on this side. Inside the cyclone, silts and clays are separated and discharged through the top of the cyclone, while an in-spec sand is discharged through the bottom of the cyclone and collected in this collection box. The inlet pressure of each cyclone is monitored by an electronic pressure sensor on the inlet band, which is read back to the HMI. As well as that, on the collection box, we have an easy-to-open lid that allows you to open up and take a quick inspection to see what the underflow is like out of the cyclone, because it's key that the discharge is like an umbrella to get, so the cyclone isn't getting overloaded and choking where you may lose good sand into the sub-tank. Now, also in this collection box, it's our second opportunity to blend the 0-3mm sand into the 0-5mm sand. And that's done by this very easy little box underneath that allows you to slide it backwards or forwards. Bringing it this way, we bring all the 0-2 sand to this side. Pushing it that way blends all the 0-2 into the 0-5 into one side of the screen. And that's actually how the customer is running today. He's looking to make as much 0-5 as possible. From this underflow collection box, the material is distributed nice and uniformly onto the dewatering screen. And as you see inside the dewatering screen, we're running polyurethane dewatering media, typically 500 micron. And the aim here is to get the sand as dry as possible, typically into a region below 14% moisture. In the dewatering screen, you'll see that there's a divider up the middle, so this ensures that you keep the 0 to 5 and the 0 to 2 material separate. And this can be repositioned depending on the volumes that you're running. So you could have a 2 to 4 split, or 4 to 2 split, or as we see today, a 3 to 3 split. This 14x6 dewatering screen is described as high frequency, very short throw but very aggressive. And that helps the material move along the mat efficiently, while giving them every opportunity to release that water. That water is released into the catch box below, and that all flows back into the primary sump tank, maximising the maximum recovery of all the good sand material that you want to eventually end up in your stockpiles. Now at the end of the dewatering screen, we have a 2-grade chute. This chute has been customised for this particular customer. Because the 0 to 5 product is very much its dominant product, the 0 to 2 material is operating the standard AggreScrub type radial conveyor, which is about 30 foot long. But on the other side, we've an extended chute that has allowed us to put in one of our 50-32 conveyors, which is 50 foot long, giving them a very large stockpile capacity for its 0 to 5 sand. On this chute also is your last opportunity to blend in that 0 to 2 into your 0 to 5 sand. So that's 3 places in total across the AggreScrub, which gives it lots of flexibility for managing your flows to each part of the plant, but also to manage that spec of material right at the very last minute. Now, with our in-spec sand discharging in the stockpiles behind us, the dirty water is now going to be discharged into this box and eventually make its way out this pipe into our ground sump. Here it's also joined by some slight overflow water from our central collection tank, and from this point it's going to go on to our water management process. So I'm going to hand you over to my colleague now who's going to talk you through that stage.
Hello, my name is Fergal McPhillips. I'm the Global Business Development Manager at Terex Washing Systems. My colleagues have talked you through the washing process from the AggreSand to AggreScrub, and now we're at the point where we're treating the wastewater. All of the dirty water reports to this sump tank where you can see the vertical shaft spindle pump behind me. From here, the vertical shaft spindle pump sends the wastewater up into the deep cone thickener. And on the way to the deep cone thickener, we're adding the flocculant. Now, before I go up and explain the deep cone thickener to you, I'd like to pass you over to my colleague who is going to explain to you the operation of the flocculant dosing unit, the FDU 3000.
My name's John Gallery. I'm our Project and After Sales Manager within Terex Washing Systems. This is our central control room. It has 2 sizes. We can do a 20 foot or a 40 foot. They're lined with lighting and heating that house our switchgear, our control panels and our flock dosing systems within that. Let's have a look at our HMI. So this is the main HMI display. This is the main menu. So from here you can actually move into the sub-menus. This is the screen display. It shows the motors, amperage, cyclone pressure, and the manifold pressure, water pressure, and it shows all the main features of the plant. So you can go back. This is our thickener, which shows the water levels, thickener sludge levels, the flow rate of the water, the thickener operating. This is the flock dosing unit. Again, shows the levels of sludge, shows the flock, shows the water levels. This is our sampling system. The sampling system will take a portion of the dirty water and it'll test it and optimize the flock through optimizing the flow. From this side, these are settings. You can adjust the motor setting, the speed, the water settings within the plant. This is our alarms. As you can see, there's any active alarms and there's any past alarms that have come up within the plant. This is our e-stop. So if any e-stop's been hit within the plant, you can see exactly where it is. You can see where in the plant it's operated, and you can go there, so it's quick and efficient to be able to find the e-stop and resolve the issue. So that's the HMI touchscreen, large touchscreen. We also have another feature, which is the dial-in. We can remotely dial in. Our engineers can dial in and diagnose any issues, any faults that you have. They can help with when you change feed material. They can make adjustments remotely to the system to optimize the efficiency of the plant and ensure that the customer has the service that they require. The control room also has a partition door here, which has the flock dosing system within it, and I'll hand over to my colleague to take you through the flock dosing system.
My name is Mark Follis, and I'm the product manager for Terex AquaClear Water Management. I'd like to give you an overview of the flocculant dosing unit. The flocculant dosing unit on this site is an FDU 3000, which is a 3,000 litre capacity unit. It is a stainless steel construction, and the main tank is split into 3 separate tanks. The mixing tank, the maturing tank, and the storage tank. During flocculant preparation, clean potable water is pumped from a water storage tank situated outside the control room by a booster pump installed in the control room into the flocculant mixing tank. The water is pumped at between 160 to 170 litres per minute at between 2 to 2.5 bar pressure. Simultaneously, dry flocculant powder is added into the pressurised water stream via an auger that is mounted inside the dry flocculant hopper. The flocculant solution is further mixed by a mixer installed inside the mixing tank. Pre-mixed solution then overflows into the maturing tank, where it is further mixed and allowed to mature for between 45 to 60 minutes. Subsequently, mature solution then overflows into our storage tank, again via a weir. Flocculant in the storage tank is then pumped via a mono pump into the slurry feed pipeline just before the static mixer, where it is thoroughly mixed with the slurry feed before entering the thickener. The settlement rate of the solids within the slurry pipeline are continuously monitored by our dosing control unit. This allows the control panel to monitor and control the flow rate of the flocculant from the dosing unit, which helps to maximise the efficiency of the unit. That concludes the section on the flock dosing unit. I would now like to hand you over to my colleague who will talk to you about the deep cone thickener. Thank you.
Here we are on top of the DC220 deep cone thickener. The wastewater from the vertical shaft pump pumps the material up and it reports through to this feed well. On the way to the feed well, the flocculant is dosed. So when the wastewater arrives at this feed well, it is fully mixed with the flocculant and the flocculant starts to act immediately. So inside this feed well here, you can actually see where the flocculant is starting to bind the particles of silt and clay together, creating a larger mass and causing a heavier particle to sink to the base of the deep cone thickener. As the material thickened sludge goes to the base of the deep cone thickener, the lighter water rises to the top and weirs over the weirs on the outside here, which then reports to the overflow pipe, and that overflow pipe diverts the water into the storage collection tanks, which is actually below ground here, to fully be recycled again and put back into the wash plant. Right, well, we're now at the base of the deep cone thickener. Over my shoulder, you can see the conical deep cone itself. This is where the sludge is collected and compressed before it is sent out to the settling ponds. And you will notice that there's no pump here. The actual deep cone, one of the key advantages of it is it releases under gravity. It uses the weight, the mass of the water above the thickened sludge to push the sludge out through to the deep cone. It's a very large advantage not needing a pump. Also at the base of the deep cone you can see where there's a valve arrangement and there's injection points for putting clean water in case of the event of a blockage. The discharge of the deep cone is controlled via the control system, and the control system receives a signal from a hydrostatic sensor on the side of the deep cone, which tells the control system when the sludge is at a particular consistency, thick enough to be able to release out through to the deep cone. Hence, as soon as that goes through, the pneumatic valve opens and releases the thickened sludge through to the pond. This concludes the tour of the wash plant. We've taken an as-dug, natural sand and gravel, produced high-quality aggregates and high-quality sand, and recycled all of the water in a closed-loop system. Now I would like to pass you over to my colleague, who is talking to the owner. Thank you.
Joined here today by Gavin Toohey, Operations Manager for Cohan Ready Mix. We've just walked you through all the features and benefits and all the individual pieces of the plant. But before we cover that, first of all, Gavin, thanks for having us today and letting us take over the site. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the Cohan Ready Mix and the business, first of all?
Cohan Ready Mix, it's a family-run business. They have probably mostly in concrete, block manufacturing, and the sale of aggregate out the country. We'd be running roughly 35 mixers and somewhere in the region of 10 to 15 tippers. Some would be outside contractors we would have hired in. They would also have block sales out the country and block lorries. This is one of the manufacturing sites. They would have 5 other of these on the go at the same time and supplying 4 of their ready mix making facilities and 2 block making facilities.
Right, Gavin, obviously for a plant of this size, it's a significant investment for any business. Can you kind of walk us through the decision-making process for the investment for this site in Brinny here and when you chose to make that decision?
Well, I suppose at the time Cohan's acquired this site, it was an old washing plant was on site here and it wasn't really fit for purpose. So we decided to invest in a new washing plant. We decided to go with Terex because they gave us a kind of a turnkey situation where we were ready to go there and then.
Thanks for that, Gavin. So could you also tell us maybe a little bit around the plant? This plant has obviously been installed and operational for the last number of months. How have you found the plant performance to date and how has it worked out for you so far?
We've been very happy with the output of the plant. We had decided to put in a log washer system because the cleanliness of the material. Some of the material on site here can be a little bit sticky at times and it can hold the clay on the chips. But as you can see today, with the log washer on site, it's doing an excellent job on it and the chips are very, very clean. That was one of the reasons why we decided to go with the Terex plant.
Last question, Gavin, I guess, right? Being involved personally in the kind of the decision-making process for this plant along with your team, I know that some of our questions all along, or your questions all along, where would you choose to invest in the back-end water treatment that we now see installed here? And obviously pond infrastructure on site was obviously a concern as well. So can you talk us through, having made now that investment, has that paid off for the business and how that's performed?
Initially, we had looked for a plant that would do somewhere in the region between 200 and 250 tonnes per hour. And one of our problems was the demand for water for such a size of plant. And we didn't have enough water on site here to be able to service that plant. So that was one of the main reasons when we wanted a plant that size, we had to invest in the water treatment. Now, since then we've been very happy that we have done. I suppose environmentally it's a lot friendlier. We're recirculating 90% of the water. Ponding space then is probably another issue. For that size of plant, we probably want bigger ponding area. So we're able to make our ponding area a lot more compact with this size, with the water treatment on site.
Gavin, all that remains, I guess, is for me to thank you again and thank the Cohan's business for your business and your support of us in making your decision to invest with Terex Washing Systems. We hope the plant continues to operate very successfully as it is doing today and kind of make a return on that investment. And thanks again for your assistance with today and letting us take over the site.
So guys, thanks very much to Gavin for that candid feedback on the plant. You can see we're standing here now in front of sand production. We've assembled the technical team here, and as we said right throughout, we're going to take your questions. So please keep the questions coming in on your browser. You'll see the functionality to be able to post questions on there, and we'll address them to the team. We'll take as many as we can between now and the end. So please keep them coming in. Going to take the first question over to Johnson Patterson, way at the right-hand side. Johnson, what's the silt content in the ASDUG material, and what's the silt content then in the washed final sand?
The silt content in the ASDUG material is around 10%, possibly 63 micron or 200 mesh, and the silt content then in the sand is between 2.2 2.6.
Okay, thanks, Johnson, for that. Fergal, I'll go to you right at the back. It's a question on the thickener. So here in this application, you have employed a deep cone thickener technology for thickening. A lot of manufacturers may specify a rake thickener. What drives the choice?
Thanks, Barry. Good question. Well, Terex Washing Systems manufacture both styles of thickener, the rake thickener and the deep cone thickener. However, we chose the deep cone thickener for this application for a number of merits of it. Number one, its footprint is much smaller than a rake thickener. But more importantly, I guess, it doesn't have any moving parts in it. And it thickens the sludge to allow the sludge to be released out via gravity. Indeed, it also captures a lot more water than a rake thickener by the fact that it thickens the sludge up to 50% consistency. Thanks, Barry.
Thanks, Fergal. Thanks for the answer. Paul, I'm going to pick on you next, right over at the back there. So this AggreSand appears to be producing a good quality sand, obviously in a natural or crushed blended application. Does the AggreSand have any flexibility or other options that deal with dirtier material or higher silt content or clay in the feed?
Okay, yeah. I suppose there's two levels we can go to. So, and it's based all around this end of the plant that we see behind us. So we can, first of all, change the cyclones out for separators, which is something that we do quite typically in recycling applications where the silt content is a bit higher. And what that does is it does give you a bit more performance in terms of getting the silt out of that sand fraction. But what it's very good at is dealing with variation in the amount of sand in your feed material, whereas the fixed spigot kind of relies on a steady feed. More often than not, no, you're not. So you're talking about putting in a second stage wash, or a pre-wash as we called it, which is sort of a bolt-on option to the AggreSand. So the way that works is that the pre-wash tank will be located beside the plant. The sand and water underflow from the screen would go into the pre-wash tank. At that point, you have the opportunity to float out or wear out a little bit of the silt at that point. And it's also very good if you need to remove any organics out of the material. So from that tank, it then goes up to what we call your primary wash separator. The underflow from that goes into the tank, and then it goes up for a second wash to the cyclone or separator located on the machine. So basically, you're washing the machine, the sand twice, double washing. So that's probably the best way to deal with the more dirtier material applications.
Okay, thanks, Paul. I'm going to stay with you, I think, because there's another question on the AggreSand. So you mentioned the standard conveyors on the AggreSand are around 30 foot in length. Can all of the conveyors be upgraded, including the aggregate conveyors?
Yes. So I'll split that into the two halves you mentioned there. So the sand conveyors, as we see behind us, it's very easy to switch those out for larger type conveyors. As this is the standard one here closest to us, about 30 foot with the radial on it, as we say. But by putting the extended chute on, we can easily adapt in then like a 50 foot, 60 foot, even up to 100 plus foot conveyors we have available at Terex. They can go directly into that position. You can do it with both sand conveyors as well as just in this application. We only done one of them. The aggregate conveyors are a little bit different because they're fixed into the chassis. But you can see on this plant we have the extended conveyor to feed the scrub. That conveyor can also be utilised as a stockpiling conveyor across all three positions on the triple deck. But what we can also do there is actually put on a shorter transfer conveyor and then feed that into a larger radial conveyor if you had large volumes of aggregate that you wanted to create stockpiles of. So multiple options there, and we just adapt that to whatever the application is or whatever the customer needs is.
Thanks, Paul. Look, folks, keep the questions coming in. We've lots of questions rolling in here still, so keep them coming. Next question's around the scrub, Neil, so I'm going to go to you. The customer talked about sticky material and cleaning it up in the log washer. What makes your log washer the correct choice in this application?
Well, the AggreScrub is the correct choice because it can accept the widest variety of feedstocks, and the ability to change parameters such as the angle, the speed, water levels and pressures always ensures that you're able to control your product.
Thanks, Neil. And I'll just stay with you on a related question on the AggreScrub. Any comment on the wear life of the log washer blades?
Yep, so the AggreScrub is designed for maximum scrubbing area, and as such we leave our log that bit higher outside the bed of material. So the only wear part on the machine is the blades themselves, and we offer several different sizes, 15mm hardox, 30mm hardox, and a manganese cast blade. We will advise on the correct one for your application during the pre-sales process.
Thanks, Neil. So, thanks for the answer. A lot of questions coming in on water treatment, so keep them coming. Mark, I'll start with you on them maybe. What is the cost per tonne relating to flock consumption here in this application?
Well, the flock consumption will vary from site to site, and it depends on the application. But in this particular site, the usage is between 4 to 5 cents per tonne of product on the ground. So that's how much flocculant has been used.
Thanks, Mark, and I'll stay with the same topic, but I'll go to you, Fergal, I think. What volume water is being used in the process, and how much is being recycled?
Okay, in the full system here, obviously we're recycling all of the water that's used in the system, goes through the deep cone thickener. The volume of water is 440 cubic meters per hour, which is the equivalent in US gallons per minute of 1940 gallons per minute that's been used in the system.
Okay, thanks, Fergal, for that.
And we're recycling 90% of that.
Okay. A feeder question, Johnson. You talked about the feeder. So, what's the maximum feed rate of the H30?
Maximum feed rate for the H30, standard out of the factory, is 400 tonnes per hour, and that suits most applications. But if needs be, we can fit a different motor, a gearbox setup, and increase that.
Okay, thanks for that. John, beside me here, a couple of questions coming in on the control system. Obviously, you talked about the control system earlier. In order to remotely dial into the HMI, do you need to have internet access?
Yeah, so the wired internet access is the best option for software and for program upgrades and stuff. You can dial in with Wi-Fi, and you can also use a SIM card, but a wired internet connection is the best.
Okay. Right, folks, keep the questions coming in here. Still lots of good questions to get through, and there's still plenty of time left to take them, so I'm happy to take as many as possible. Mark Follis, again, water treatment question. How much potable water is the flock dosing unit using per day?
The approximate amount of potable water that the flock dosing unit here is using is between approximately 14,000 to 15,000 litres per day.
Okay, and then, Mark, I'm going to ask you another couple of questions around flock dosing as well. So, is a flock dosing unit required to create a sludge? And if not, what's the advantage?
The flock dosing unit is required to treat the sludge before it enters the thickener, so that it allows the particles to clump together, which makes them settle out of the water a lot faster. So that's what's required. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Mark. So look, lots of questions running, so I'm just going to pick and choose here. Fergal, I'll go to you on a kind of water treatment one that's just come in from Kevin here. So, what's the maximum distance the thickener can move silt before a pump is required?
Okay, well, in this example here, the pond is 170 horizontal meters, 4 vertical meters away from the deep cone, so it's quite a far distance. In order to manage to get our gravity flow to that, we can regulate the consistency of the sludge, typically somewhere between your 40-45 mark consistency. But in this example, it's 170 meters away. With 50% consistency of solids, we are comfortable with getting 100 meters away.
Okay, thanks, Fergal. There was another question in on consistency of thickened sludge, but I think you covered it there.
Okay.
John, again, kind of a control system related question. Can you measure the daily efficiency of this plant with reports or tonnage?
Yes, we can do upgrades that'll get you hourly, daily and weekly tonnage, efficiency, uptime of the machine, and give you efficiency and tonnage
complete.
Okay. Okay, folks, so I'm going to just keep the questions coming. They're trying to catch up with them here, so they're coming hot and heavy, which is good. Right, Johnson, I think I'll go to you on this one. Can you wash out C&D waste from loam soil? Can you wash out C&D waste from loam soil? Or is that a question you can't answer without more information? Or do you want to talk about C&D just?
From with this particular plant here, we would use in many C&D setups with the AggreSand, AggreScrub. I'm not really clear on your question. Maybe if you would want to message me afterwards, we could discuss it.
Okay. Thanks, Johnson, for that. Paul, I'll go to you on a nice tricky question, right? What's the typical schedule from design to commissioning of a plant of this size? Now, everybody else is free to answer as well, but we'll start with you.
Well, for this kind of particular plant, the design phase is negligible because this is what we'd call one of our modular solutions. The AggreSand is pretty much the out-of-the-box spec. The AggreScrub is the out-of-the-box spec, and we've already done this setup before. The setup of the deep cone and the flock roasting unit is very simple, so the design phase is eliminated. All you're really talking about then is the manufacturing time, and that obviously varies depending on demand. Or you can probably answer better what the current kind of scale for that is at the minute. But if you're looking at a more bespoke solution, kind of what Johnson was asked there around C&D waste, it depends on the scale of the plant. That's the very engineering answer. But usually we have design team ready to jump on bespoke projects. We know about the projects beforehand because we've been working with the customer in terms of the analysis of their material, trying to guide them on what equipment they need, how much money is available to spend on the plants and their return on investment, etc. So it varies project to project, but we have a vast resource in terms of design teams, and we just take a project by project for it.
Okay. No, thanks, Paul. Look, I know it's a tricky question to answer. Johnson, an applications type question then. If we can find it here again. So, do you have a solution for industrial silica sand?
Yes, we do have a solution for silica sand. We could customize a plant. Well, I suppose depending on the application, we can fully customize a system to process the sand, or we can adapt some of our modular equipment, like the AggreSand. Silica sand processing plant would be wash it, classify it in a flat bottom classifier, maybe add attrition cells if it required scrubbing, and then also we have the ability to fit a set of spirals to the AggreSand, or indeed if it's a bespoke plant. So yes, we do have a solution for that.
Okay, thanks for that. Look, folks, are going to take a few more questions here before we finish. So, Neil, feel free to pass on this one, if you wish. How much water is the power scrub using?
Well, at the minute, I might have to pass to Fergal. How much are we using in the power scrub at the minute? 140 cubes, sorry.
140 cubic meters per hour is what the water supply to the AggreScrub is. But of course, all of that has been recycled through the water treatment system.
Okay, good question. Right, coming to the end, folks. I'll take maybe one or two more if you want to send them in. Johnson, come a bit closer, right? The question is, what percentage of clay may the material contain? So maybe can we answer how much percentage of clay is in this one, and then what's our kind of maximum figure we could do in this kind of plant?
Say the question to me again.
What percentage of clay may the material contain? So what percentage of clay could be in the material and produce successful sand in, or is that something you can answer? Something we have to test for?
Honestly, I don't know. We haven't tested on this material here. It was never something the customer asked for. So I couldn't honestly tell you without testing the material.
So what are we seeing here? Do you know?
No, I don't. Okay. Don't.
That's fine. Neil, I'll go to you on this one. I think this is going to be the last one, right? So, how do you access the sand chute to blend sand?
Well, we have a walkway up the side here, and it's normally just generally done at that stage in commissioning. So we'll be doing it at a safe distance, and then also the underflow box onto the cyclones can be accessed from this walkway on the side of the screen box.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Right. Very last one has just slipped in, Mark. I'll go to you, and then we'll finish. So, is there? Well, I've got another two actually. Just looking at the time, right? So, is there any process to determine the required quantity of flocculant?
Typically, if we get a sample of the material and take the below 73 microns of it, wash it out of the material, and then use various flocculants to determine which one is the best, is the most efficient. Then we would use that flocculant. It gives the one that gives the greatest settlement rate versus the clean overflow water that you get. So that's what we would do. We'd have to do laboratory testing just to make sure that the flocculant is ideal.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Look, loads of good questions coming in. Any we can't address now, we'll take after. One last one, Neil, I think for you. So the AggreScrub 150 has two 22 kilowatt motors. Sorry. Compared to your competitors' machines, some of them may be installed with much higher horsepower motors.
Yes.
What makes the AggreScrub so efficient or different that it uses less power compared to others?
Well, we have a very large gearing ratio within the motor and within the drive line, and the fact that they're individually driven means we've got two lines coming through the hull. We interlock them in the gearing system in the centre of the drive, which again acts as a bit of a multiplier. But we always have a massive safety factor in terms of torque inside the hull. So even though they are small motors, it's all within the gearing ratio.
Okay, Neil, thanks for that. Look, folks, I think that's probably where we're going to come to the end of Q&A. So thanks to the panel here for all the answers. Unfortunately, we're almost out of time, so that's all we have time for. Please keep questions coming in afterwards. We will send out answers to those questions we haven't been able to answer. It's almost a wrap-up from us here in Cork. You've heard, obviously, in detail, right from the start of the process through the machine, about the plant that's installed here. Hopefully, you've heard something that may be useful to apply in your business throughout this webinar as well. At the very least, maybe we have given you some food for thought for something that you're doing or something that you may be thinking about doing within your business. Hopefully, you've seen laid out with the team here the specialist capabilities of the TWS team, both here and headquarters, and the fact that we select from a very wide equipment portfolio to put together a solution such as this, and it's the widest equipment portfolio of any wet processing manufacturer. And not only do we select from that wide equipment range of portfolio, we also listen to the voice of the customer and understand, as you've seen in some of the tailoring of this plant, customers' needs for their specific installation. And so using that equipment and our expertise, along with the customer's input, we arrive at a solution which suits anybody's needs. Please reach out to us on all the usual channels, tws.sales@terex.com. Talk to your local dealer rep. Obviously, an important part of how we go to market is through local dealer distribution, and those partners in the marketplace have boots on the ground and ability, which is very important at this point in time with lack of travel and everything else, ability to put boots on the ground at your site wherever you may be around the globe. If your inquiries relate to direct sales in Ireland, please talk to Martin Loughren. Again, contact details on our website. It remains for me to just give some thanks here. So thanks to the TWS team here, both here, back at headquarters and globally, for all the support that people have given to putting this webinar together, and indeed the hard work that everybody does every day to support the TWS business. I'd like to thank again the Cohans family and their team and their business for placing their trust in us. First of all, obviously with their initial investment, and then allowing us to come here today, take over their site for the webinar. The operation here, hopefully as you've seen, the operation of this site and the way in which Cohans conduct their business really is a credit to them and their team. Lastly, and most importantly, I'd like to thank all of you for watching and joining us here today, taking time out to spend an hour with us. If you're an existing customer, thanks again for your business. If you're a potential future customer or there's something you're thinking about in the short, medium or long term, we certainly look forward to having a discussion with you about your needs. So from all of us here in Cork, Thanks very much. Stay safe.